Good morning and welcome to Saturday Morning Power Yoga, our first one of the new year. And we are focusing on foundations, on alignment, on how to know when you are correctly in your poses and how to know that you're properly aligned within them. It's a good idea to have a set of blocks today so that we can use those for the purposes of figuring out how you are in those poses and getting into them properly. You're not required to, but I recommend it. So join me on the mat. So as we've said in the past, start off the class sitting on a bolster or a block or a pillow. Why do we do that? Because when we first start out any yoga practice, there's a pretty good likelihood that our hips are not open yet. And it's a lot easier to move through your yoga, to find your alignment when you start off from the very beginning, honoring where your body is and giving it what it needs to fully open to the extent that it's able to. I'm going to turn my body to the side so that you can see the alignment that we are looking for in our easy seated pose in Sukhasana. So in Sukhasana, legs are out, knees are out to the side. One leg is stacked in front of the other. And we are sitting with our crown as high to the ceiling as we can get it, allowing our shoulders to drop down, which creates space for the heart to lift up. And when we do that, look at this beautiful strong back that we acquire. And when we have a nice, strong, straight back, we have room for the breath to move. We have room for the arms to move. We have room for the shoulders to move. And this sets us up for future poses. One way of looking at it is the way that we seek alignment in Tadasana is the same alignment that we seek in all poses, whether we're laying down, whether we're upside down, whether we're standing up. We are still seeking that correctness, if you will, of our shoulders stacked firmly over our hips, moving our head into the same plane as the back of our body, our cranium stacked firmly on top of our shoulders. And when we do that, we open up all of our energy channels. We allow the breath to move freely from the base of the spine all the way to the crown of the head. So it all starts with Sukhasana. Now, some people choose in their first seated pose of the day to try lotus. So, you can do that, but I wouldn't do it on top of a pillow. I would do that directly on the floor. But I would wait to enter into such a difficult pose that requires so much hip rotation and deep knee bending. I would wait until the end of your yoga session to do that generally, or at least the middle, until your body is fully warmed up. So let's begin closing our eyes, moving into that space where we are ready to really take on our yoga practice, showing up to the mat fully, physically, spiritually, mentally, here on the mat in this moment right now. Close your eyes and start to breathe in and out of your nose. And as you breathe in and out, maintain that lift in your heart, maintain that lift in the cranium. Try to make so your breath starts and ends in the belly. As you inhale, expand the belly. And as you exhale, draw the belly in. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Start to turn your attention inward. Drawing your third eye in. starting to really settle in to this moment. Yoga is about knowing yourself. We learn about ourselves as we move through asanas, as we breathe, as we meditate. So all of that, those are all vessels towards this higher goal of knowing ourselves. And the first rule about knowing ourselves is having honesty with ourselves. Do we know what our body is doing? Do we honor what our body needs? Do we respect the limitations that we have that are right here in the moment? Do we release attachments to the ideal when that ideal is outside of our range? Do we release the idea of competition? Do we compete with ourselves? Do we compete with those around us? Do we compete with what we think the ideal is? So take this time to acknowledge that what we are doing is learning all about ourselves. Take some of the pressure off. Go ahead and flutter your eyes open. Finding a fixed point off in front of you, finding your drishti gaze where your eyes are half lowered. And set an intention for your practice this morning. Take another inhale. And fully exhale. So we're going to go ahead and begin our physical movement of our practice this morning. I'm moving my pillow out of the way. And I invite you to the top of your mat. So I'm going to move my blocks so that they are to either side of where my body is going to be. And at the top of the mat, let's take our Tadasana pose. So Tadasana, remember the alignment that we had in Sukhasana with the shoulders stacked right over the hips, moving the head back into the same plane as the back body. Start with your hands so that the palms are facing inward towards your thighs. Initially start with lifting all the toes on your feet and look down and see, do you have lifted arches? If you don't, slightly bend your legs to allow the muscles to engage in the thighs just above your knees. And then lift up your heart center, which naturally brings your belly button in and allows your tailbone to slightly tilt towards the floor. You do not need to tilt your pelvis, but it will naturally just tilt a little bit on its own when you lift up your heart center and engage your core muscles. And then draw your shoulders down your back, lifting up the crown of your head. Now turn your hands forward and take notice of what happens with your shoulder blades when you do that. When we turn our hands forward, the shoulder blades start to move closer to each other. They rotate towards our back. And that is what we want in this pose. Now you can lower your toes if you haven't already. And one of the core qualities of this mudra that we talked about at the beginning of class is aligning your earth to air axis. Well, it's not earth to air, but earth to universe axis. So thinking of it this way, that you are grounding your feet in. You are establishing your roots as you're growing your body tall up to the universe. So we're reaching up as we are rooting down. And that's what we try to do in any of our poses, is make sure that our connection to the earth is sound and strong, which gives us what we need. We draw that energy from the earth up through our body. We draw that strength up from the earth through our body to make nice, strong, firm poses. Inhale our hands up, keeping that strength and that length. And then exhale your hands out and down. Inhale your hands out and up, scooping up energy as you go. And then exhale, draw that energy back down. Inhale, scoop the energy up, bringing it up above, hands together at the top. And then exhale, bring your hands down, pushing that energy back down. Let's do that one more time. Inhale out and up. And then exhale, bring them out and down. Now we're going to move into sun salutations, but we're going to do them in 3 phases. We're going to do first sun salutation with low lunge using our blocks. Then the next sun, or you can use your knee. You have the option of blocks or knee. Then the next sun salutation we're going to do is going to be arms overhead, knee can still be on the floor, or we can lift up the leg. And then the next one will be high lunge for sure. And then we'll build on that as we move through our normal warrior series, some twisting poses, including revolve triangle. And we're going to do warrior 3 today, and we're going to do tree pose today, and really talk about alignment in those poses. All right, so let's get moving. So inhale our hands up. Draw your shoulder blades down when you bring your hands up, and draw your arm bones back in alignment with your ears as you do that. Take a nice inhale. On your exhale, slightly bend your legs, folding over your thighs, hands out to the side into your forward fold. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Either take your blocks or not, and take your right foot back in space. I wonder how long my cat's going to stay here. Not very long. Okay, so you can place your hands on your knee if you want, or you can use your blocks to move them back in alignment with your shoulders. I don't want you yet to move your hips forward. I just want you to focus on what your heart center is doing. So draw your shoulders down. Inhale, lift up your heart center. And then exhale. Place your hands on the floor. Moving into plank pose, and then drop your knees, bring your elbows in on your exhale, drop your heart center, drop your chin, and then inhale, bring it through as we move into low cobra. In low cobra, draw your shoulders down your back as you lift up your heart center and feel all of those muscles throughout your back engage. The strength of this pose is not in your arms, it is in your back. So when you draw your shoulders down and bring your elbows against your ribs, it automatically makes it so you're not really using your arms to do much of anything. So all of it is in your back. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, tuck your toes. Move back through child's pose. Take child's pose for just a moment so that you connect with what child's pose is. Right now, my toes are touched, so I'm not in a true child's pose. But just feel your shoulders start to open in this. And then go ahead and lift up into your downward facing dog. So your first downward facing dog, just bend your legs really deeply. My hands are sliding on the mat because they're a little bit cold. So draw your shoulders down, lift your hips up nice and high. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale, bring your left foot through. I'm sorry, not your left foot, your right foot through. And drop your left knee. Either place your hands on your knee as we lift up, or take your yoga blocks so that they are underneath your shoulders. Inhale, lift up your heart center. And then on your exhale, tuck your left toes, bring your knee up, bring your left foot forward, Inhale into a flat spine. When we go into that flat spine, I'm going to recommend right now that you keep your legs bent. So my booty is like back in space here, as you can see. Plus, take your hands and either place them on your thighs or down on your shins. Draw your shoulders away as you draw the crown of your head forward. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale, fold down. And inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up. And then exhale, draw your hands down to heart center in prayer. Inhale. Exhale your hands down. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward with your bent legs. And drop your crown. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Inhale. Oh, I was about to rise all the way up. Take your left foot back. Sorry about that. Drop your knee. And then inhale. Lift up your heart center. You can have your hands on your knee like this, or you can have them underneath the blocks. Inhale, and then exhale. Hands down to the floor. Move back to plank again. On your exhale, drop your knees, bring your elbows in, drop your heart center, drop your chin and inchworm. Your hips are high up in the sky. And then inhale, draw your heart center through as you move into baby cobra. Drawing your shoulders down as you lift up your heart center. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale, tuck your toes, move back again through child's pose. Just halt in child's pose as we start to lengthen the back and open up our shoulders. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, move up into downward facing dog again. And my hands are still sliding. So keep your legs deeply bent. Open up the shoulders. Allow the heart center to start to move towards the thighs. Widening your collarbones as you draw your shoulder blades down your back. And then focus on lifting up your hips, lifting your sit bones high up to the sky. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, take your left foot through, drop your knee. I'm going to leave the blocks this time so that we can demonstrate what it's like to have your hands on the knee instead of on the block. So place your hands on your knee, draw your shoulders down as you lift up your heart center. And then on your exhale, drop your hands, lift up your right knee, bring right foot to join the left. Inhale into a flat spine, exhale down. Inhale, reverse swan dive all the way up to the top. And then exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale. Exhale your hands down. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Hands to the ground. Drop your crown. Inhale into a flat spine, drawing the shoulders away from the ears, drawing the crown of the head forward. Exhale down and take your right foot back. We're going to drop our knee this time and rise up our hands on your inhale. When you arrive at the top, exhale, draw the shoulders down as you lift up your hands, drawing your arms back in alignment with your ears, and perhaps sinking your hips a little bit by drawing your hips forward. Inhale. Exhale, circle them down. Left foot back to join right, and then we'll take that inchworm again as we lower. So knees, elbows into ribs, hips high up in the air. Drop your chest, drop your chin. Inhale through. Rising up into low cobra. Exhale, tuck your toes, moving back through child's pose. Halt there for a moment. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale, rise up into downward facing dog. And perhaps your dog might start to open up a little bit. Your shoulders might be starting to open up. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, take your right foot through, drop your knee. And then inhale your hands up, drawing your arms in alignment with your ears. Take an inhale. Exhale, lower your shoulders, lifting up your heart center and moving your hips slightly forward. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down, tuck your toes and lift your left leg and bring your right foot to join the left, or left foot to join the right. Inhale into a flat spine, exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands out and up, arms alongside our ears. Exhale, swan dive forward, dropping your crown. Inhale into a flat spine, drawing the shoulders away from the ears as you draw the crown forward. Exhale, fold down. Take our left foot back, drop our knee. Inhale our hands up alongside our ears. Exhale, drop the shoulders as you lift your heart center up and move your hips forward. Inhale. Exhale, circle the hands down. Take your right foot back to join the left in plank. Drop your knees, lift up your hips as you bring your elbows in and drop your heart center, drop your chin. Move it through on the inhale into low cobra, drawing your elbows down to your ribs. And then exhale, lower down. Move back initially through child's pose. And then lift up into downward facing dog. Maybe your dog is starting to open up a little bit more. I know that mine is. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale. Take your left foot to join your right. It feels like there's a splinter in my foot. Drop your knee. Inhale your hands up. Exhale, draw the shoulders down as you lift up your heart center and move your hips forward. Inhale. Exhale, circle your hands down. Lift up your right knee. Bring right foot to join the left. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down. Inhale, rising all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. I'm going to turn on my heater. I think this room is just a little too cold. There we go. My hands keep sliding on my mat because I thought I would leave the room cold because I thought, oh, I'm going to do power yoga. I'm going to warm up, but my hands aren't warming up yet. So let's try that again. Okay, inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Maybe you can straighten out your legs a little bit more this time. You can still have them bent if you need that. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale, hands down to the ground. Take our right foot back. And now we're going to do that high lunge. In that high lunge, let's just focus on alignment. So this is where blocks are really helpful. So in the high lunge, instead of rising all the way up just yet, take a look at my body. Notice how it's one long line from my heels all the way to the crown of my head. So what I want you to do right now is just focus on that form. Draw the right hip forward as you bring the left hip back, or imagine that somebody is taking two hands and pressing them against the outside of your hips. And when we do that, we're drawing all the energy to the center. This strengthens your pose, it strengthens your pelvis, it strengthens your base. Take an inhale and draw the crown of your head forward as you strengthen your pose like this. And then on your exhale, drop your hands, move into plank pose. And in plank pose, it helps to bend your elbows, allow your heart center to drop, and then straighten out those elbows as you draw your crown and your heart center forward. Drawing your core muscles in and engaging them to have this nice long plank where your hips are in alignment with the rest of your body. So they're not up high and they're not sinking low. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, lower chaturanga dandasana by drawing your elbows into the ribs and drawing your heart forward as you lower down. Go ahead and lower all the way to the floor to start. And then we'll do that low cobra again. Inhale the shoulders up, lift up into low cobra, tuck the toes, and exhale back into child's pose. And then lift up into downward facing dog. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, bring your right foot forward. Again, focusing on those alignment principles that we talked about. So remember to lift up the muscles on the back of your leg, lift them up, which allows you to straighten out your left knee. Bend your right knee deeply. Have a 90-degree angle with your foot to your shin, hopefully with your shin to your thigh. But if you have a greater than 90 degree, that's okay. You just can't have, or I'm sorry, less than 90 degrees. Wait a minute. So when you move backwards, the angle opens, so it's greater than 90, right? If you move forward, it changes it and makes it less than 90. So what we want is 90 degrees or more, okay? So draw the crown of your head forward as you bring your shoulders back, and then focus on that idea that two hands are pressing on the outside of your hips, drawing your energy in and strengthening your pelvis. Take an inhale, and then exhale, bring your left foot forward to join your right. Inhale into a flat spine, exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale. Exhale the hands down. Inhale the hands up. And then exhale, swan dive forward. Inhale into a flat spine. And exhale, let's take our left foot back. Same thing, I'm not going to use the blocks this time though. Just keep your hands on the floor. And same thing, either draw your right hip back and your left hip forward, or focus on drawing them together. Feel that muscle energy in your pelvis while you're doing that. Drawing your shoulders down your back, drawing the crown of your head forward. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, place your hands on the floor. Move your left foot back to join your right, setting up for Chaturanga Dandasana. Drawing your crown of your head forward, drawing your heart center forward, and then exhale, lower down, elbows to ribs. Hover over the floor, and then move forward into that low cobra. Exhale, move back into child's pose. And then take a nice inhale, and exhale, move up into downward facing dog. Already I can feel my dog opening because I'm warming up my legs. Take a nice inhale, and then exhale, draw your left foot forward. Once again, we're focusing on just aligning the pelvis. So draw the two sides of the hips together. Draw your heart center forward. Draw your crown forward. Keep a nice long line. Use the strength of the leg, of your right leg, the hamstrings, lifting it up, strengthening and straightening that leg, engaging the muscles above the knee as you do that as well. Take an inhale, and then exhale. Bring right foot forward to join left. Inhale into a flat spine, exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. And then exhale, hands to heart center. So now that we have focused on the alignment principles of those lunges, our next step is actually going to be to do that with our arms overhead. So take an inhale. Exhale the hands down. Inhale the hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Drop your hands, drop your crown. Inhale into a flat back. Exhale down and take our right foot back into that high lunge, and then rise up. When you rise up, bring your arms back as far as you can in alignment with your ears. Take an inhale and lift up your heart center, and then exhale, lower your shoulder blades down. Inhale. Exhale, circle the hands down. Moving left foot to join right in that plank, and then lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Hover and then move into upward facing dog if you can, or choose low cobra. When we move into upward facing dog, our hips are actually hovering off the floor. The thighs are actually not touching it, or if they are, slightly. And then we're drawing our shoulder blades down our back, drawing our shoulders away from our ears, and moving the hips forward. Take an inhale, and then exhale, pulling the belly button into the spine. You can either bend your legs or use the strength of your core muscles to move back into downward facing dog. Take a nice inhale. Fully exhale and move back into your dog. Moving your hips back in space, drawing your shoulders down your back and away from your ears. Allowing space for your heart to fall towards the floor. Inhale. Fully exhale. Inhale, bring the right foot forward. Setting up. Get your pelvis nice and strong. And then inhale, lift up your hands. Draw your shoulders down as you bring your belly button in. Make sure the leg behind you is strong and straight. Inhale. Exhale, circle the hands down. Bring left foot forward to join the right. Inhale into a flat spine, then exhale down. Inhale, rising all the way up. And then exhale, hands to heart center. On to the next side. Inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Hands to the floor, drop the crown. Inhale into a flat spine. Exhale down and take our left foot back again. And rising up. Arms alongside the ears. Draw the shoulders down as you bring your belly button in, lifting up the heart center. Exhale, circle the hands down. Right foot back to join the left, setting up for Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale. Exhale, lower elbows to the ribs, hovering on top of the floor, then moving forward into upward facing dog. Exhale, draw the belly button in, tuck the toes, or roll over them, move up into downward facing dog. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, move the hips back, draw the shoulders back and down. Feel the shoulders move away from the ears. Inhale. Exhale, try to move those hips up and back a little bit more. One more inhale. Exhale, bring your left foot forward into that high lunge. And then inhale, rise up into Anjaneyasana. Lift up your right leg. As you exhale, draw your shoulders down, lifting up your heart center. Take a nice inhale. Exhale, circle the hands down. Take right foot forward to join the left. And inhale into that flat spine. Exhale down. Inhale, rise all the way up. And then exhale, moving hands to heart center. So now the next part that we're going to do is we're going to use sun salutations to start to move through the warrior series. So your body should feel nice and warmed up now, especially since we spent so much time in each pose while we were going through the sun salutations. Now, so that you can see my body kind of from the front and from the back, I'm turning my angle to a diagonal to the camera for you. So let's start off in Tadasana. Inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Legs can be bent or straight, yogi's choice. Inhale into that flat spine. Exhale, hands down, and take our right foot back into warrior one position. So our heel is on the floor, our toes are painted forward. Initially, place your hands on your hips and rise up. So what I want is for your hips to be in the same direction as your heart. Okay, so whichever way your face and your heart are facing, your hip bones need to also be facing that same direction. So if they're not, you can make many adjustments in the pose, any way that allows you to do that. You can move your feet so that they're wider apart. A lot of times I will do that. You can turn your toes forward a little bit more if you need to do that. There are different things you can do. You can also back out of it a little bit if you find being deeply in it is hard on your hamstring and on your Achilles tendon in the back. So however deeply you can bend this leg is how much extension you can get on that back leg, which remains strong and straight. And you make it strong and straight by engaging the muscles above the knee. So now that we're in this warrior one, bring our hands up overhead, just like Anjaneyasana. We're drawing the shoulder blades down. We're drawing our arms back in alignment with our ears. And then to deepen the pose, it's all in this front knee. So when I straighten it out, we're like setting up for pyramid. When I bend it, we're going into warrior one. Opening up the psoas on the right side, stretching out the leg muscles behind the right leg. Take a nice inhale, reaching our hands up high. And then exhale, we're going to open up into warrior two. So you should get a pretty decent view of my back now. So in warrior two, one thing we're doing for alignment is we're making sure that we can see the whole inside of our right leg, which means we've got to draw this knee out. Using these muscles here, draw it out. It's like you've got these muscles that surround the sacrum on your buttocks. Draw them together, okay? And then bend that leg deeply. Again, no greater or no, yeah. Well, we want to have a 90-degree angle. So we don't want our knee trailing towards our toes. If we are, we have to widen our stance. We want that arch lifted. Our back foot is parallel to the mat behind us. Then draw your shoulders back so that they are stacked over your hips, and then lift up your hands. Drawing your arms apart so that they're on the same alignment plane as your feet. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale, look out over your left front fingertips and try to find a sense of ease in this pose. Inhale. As you exhale, draw your shoulders together, draw your belly button in, allowing space for your tailbone to start to drop. Inhale. Exhale, continue to draw that left knee out. Inhale. Exhale. Now, keeping all that same alignment in your hips, let's move back into peaceful warrior. So drop our right hand on our right leg, lift our left hand up, keeping our hips still nice and low. Inhale, reach that left arm up. Exhale, allow your right hand to descend down more. Inhale, and then exhale. Place your left hand on top of your left thigh. Bring your right hand up to the sky as we set up for extended side angle. Now this can be your extension and that's totally okay, but I'm going to show you how to fully go into it. So take a nice inhale. Exhale, draw your shoulder down your back. So did you see the movement of my hand? And then bend your left knee a little bit more deeply to allow your hips to sink. And then draw your arm alongside your right ear. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, rotate your heart center up as you draw your hand with you, bringing that right shoulder back, bringing that whole arm back in space. Inhale. On your exhale, lift up so that your left shoulder is pulling away from your left ear also. So we're not sinking into it. Take one more inhale. And then on your exhale, move your left hand forward towards your right foot, circling it down, raising it up to warrior two, and then lifting your whole body into warrior two. Take an inhale. And then exhale, circle your hands down. Move left foot back to join right in plank. And then exhale, lower chaturanga dandasana, inhaling into upward facing dog. I need to move this block out of the way since it's in my face. And then exhale, move in to downward facing dog. Take an inhale. And then fully exhale, moving your hips back in space. Inhale. Fully exhale, move your hips back in space. Then on your next inhale, walk your feet up to your hands. Before we go into the left side, I want to focus a little bit on our forward fold. So on our forward fold, we're bringing our sits bones up to the sky. We lead with the heart as we go into our forward fold. Why do we lead with the heart? Because when we lead with the heart, we take it out of the back. The extension now comes from drawing your heart energy down towards the mat, and then you still keep lifting up your sits bones. You could have a bend in your legs if you need it. Pressing your torso against your thighs. And then once you've achieved that, then you can drop your crown. Continue to draw your shoulders toward your back if you're able to. And then inhale, rise up, reverse swan dive, rise all the way up. And then exhale, hands to heart center. Take a moment to reflect on how you feel. Now we're going to go into the warrior series on the other side. Take an inhale. Exhale our hands down. Inhale our hands up. Exhale, swan dive forward. Hands to the floor. Drop your crown. Inhale into a flat spine, drawing your shoulders away as you draw your crown of your head forward. Exhale down. Take our left foot back. Go ahead and set up for your warrior one by dropping your heel, toes are facing forward, and then rise up. So it may feel different on one side versus the other. I know it does always for me. I have to adjust differently on each side, but we still draw our shoulders down. We lift up our heart muscle. Fixing my shirt. Okay, bending our right leg deeply so that we have that 90 degrees at the ankle and at the knee. Drawing the belly button in as we lift up our heart. Inhale. Exhale, draw the shoulders down, draw the arms back in alignment with the ears. One more inhale. And then exhale, let's open up into warrior two. So making sure that our right heel intersects our left arch, using these muscles back here to draw that knee back to open up our hips. As we have our hands out, lowering our shoulders, which naturally draws our shoulder blades together. Drawing up the belly button, creating space for the tailbone to drop. And then looking out over our right hand, finding ease in the pose. Inhale. Exhale. One more inhale. Slowly exhale. And then inhale, moving into peaceful warrior, keeping our hips exactly as they were. As we go into peaceful warrior, we're keeping the hips low as we reach our hand nice and tall. Right hand to the ceiling, left leg rest, left arm resting on the left leg. Take a nice inhale. Exhale. One more inhale. And then exhale, bend your right arm, placing it on top of your left thigh. Initially start with our left hand to the ceiling. And then draw your left shoulder down your back. Bend your right leg more deeply to sink your hips. Take an inhale. And then exhale, draw your left arm alongside your left ear. And rotate your heart center up, bringing your arm and your shoulder with you as you draw them back. Take an inhale. Exhale, rotate the shoulder back as you lift up your heart center. Draw your right shoulder away from your right ear. Take an inhale. Exhale, rotate again. And then one more inhale. Exhale, reach your left arm in the same direction as your toes. Circle it down, rising up into warrior two, and then lifting the whole body into warrior two. Take an inhale, and then exhale, circle the hands down, hands to the floor, moving back into plank pose. Take an inhale, exhale, lower chaturanga dandasana. Inhale, moving up into upward facing dog. Exhale, rolling over the toes, pulling the belly button up as we move into downward facing dog. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, move your hips back, draw your shoulders back and away from your ears. Inhale. Exhale, continue to move your hips up and back. Draw the belly button in. One more inhale. And then exhale, drop your knees. Spread your feet, your knees wide, toes together. Let's move into child's pose. We've been doing a lot of long, slow, muscle engaging poses. So you're going to feel your heart rate is probably lifted, and you're probably working your muscles more than if we move through these poses with a little bit of speed. So it's okay to acknowledge that perhaps this feels a little strange. Inhale. Exhale. Take a nice inhale. Fully exhale, reach the hands forward. And then inhale, rise up, move back into that downward facing dog again. Inhale. Fully exhale, moving those hips back, drawing the shoulders away from your ears, allowing the heart center to draw towards the floor. Inhale, bring your right foot forward. And then exhale, open up into warrior two and straighten out your right leg. So with that right leg straightened out, now we're going to move into triangle. So this is where blocks are really helpful because they help us to understand what our limitations are. But you can also use your shin. Like right now, I'm feeling still kind of stiff. I haven't done as much deep yoga as I normally do. And I don't know, it's winter and it's cold. So, you know, the body's just not opening the way I'm used to it opening. So inhale, lift up the heart center, create space. Lift up and out of the hips, lift up the heart center, draw the shoulders down, straight leg in the front, left foot parallel to the mat behind you. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, tilt down into your triangle pose. Okay, so notice that I'm not all crunched over here. And the way that we avoid that is one, until we're ready and open, we keep our hand nice and high. Actually, my hand's a little higher than I needed. Then draw the crown of your head forward and draw your left arm up to the ceiling and then pull the shoulder back and down and press your back. So rotate your whole body so that your whole back is pressed against that imaginary wall behind you. Tuck your tailbone and then pull up the muscles on the top of your right thigh and rotate it upward. So rotate the inner thigh up to have that spiraling inside of your hip joint so that your knee is facing the ceiling. That changes the pose significantly. Take an inhale, exhale. Inhale again, exhale. And let's do one final inhale. And then exhale, bring your left hand down to your waist. Bend your right leg, turn your left toes forward so that we're setting up for pyramid pose. I'm going to grab my other block so that we can demonstrate that. So in pyramid pose, it's just like triangle, only we shorten our stance just slightly. So the reason I had you bend your leg was so that you could pivot and move without damaging your knee joint. Okay, so in pyramid pose, I'm going to draw my blocks so that they are underneath my shoulders. Where are my shoulders? Well, it depends on what I'm doing with the rest of my back. If I draw the crown of my head forward and I straighten up my back and I draw my shoulders down, my natural point for my shoulders where they fall is kind of like right around the middle of my shin. Okay, and then while I'm in this pyramid, then I want you to draw your right hip back as you bring your left hip forward so that we have proper alignment. Then once you have this alignment, you can stay here. That's one option. Or you can take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, begin to lower. As you lower, draw your shoulder blades together, leading with the heart as you go down. So this may limit how far you go, and that's okay, because you're staying within what you can do right now, what your range of motion is right now. So as you can see, I haven't fully folded. I'm intentionally drawing my shoulders onto my back to keep my back as straight as I can as I fold over my right leg. I'm looking at my second toe. Continuing to draw my right hip back as I bring my right hip forward. Take a nice inhale. Fully exhale. Take another inhale. And then on your exhale, leave your left block on the inside of your thigh. Maybe you need to adjust it just a little bit. I know that I need to. I'm going to place my right block down and place my right hand on my right hip. Then I'm going to turn my body to the right, keeping my hips right where they were, keeping my left leg straight behind me, maybe a little bit of a bend in the right leg if you need it. And then find the placement of your block or of your hand that works best for you. I do recommend a chair or a block as we move into this revolved triangle. So continue to draw the right shoulder back as you draw your left shoulder underneath it, and then lift your arm up. So the twist comes from the core. And if it's too hard to have your hand all the way to the floor, we use the block. Take an inhale, exhale. Take one more inhale, and then exhale. Bend your right leg deeply. Place your hands on the floor and move back into downward facing dog. Feel the difference on that right leg. Now that you're really opening up that right hip. Move back in your dog as far as you can, lifting up those hips high up into the air, dropping the heart center. Take an inhale. Fully exhale, moving your hips back, drawing your shoulders down. And then inhale, take your left foot forward and rise up into that warrior two. So I'm going to have my blocks ready and in position this time. They weren't as ready last time. Straighten out that left leg, okay? So again, when we're in the triangle legs, we're rotating this inner thigh up, drawing the inner thigh up, drawing the left hip down, kneecap facing the ceiling. And then having set up for that, then we tilt into our triangle. So take an inhale, lift up the heart center, lift up everything out of the pelvis. And then exhale, tilt down, taking our hands to the block and drawing our body back in space. So rotating our heart upward, rotating our thigh so that our kneecap is facing the ceiling, okay? And then moving our body into the back body plane, pressing against that imaginary wall behind us, drawing the crown of our head in the same direction as our toes. This creates space for our tailbone to drop down just a little bit and continue to engage your core muscles. Inhale, exhale fully. Inhale, exhale. One more inhale, and then exhale. Bend your legs slightly as we set up for pyramid. So shorten your stance a little bit, and then re-straighten out that left leg, okay? So again, in pyramid, just like the other side, what are we focused on? Focus on that nice flat back. Focus on drawing the left hip forward as we bring the right hip, or left hip back as we bring the right hip forward, okay? Strong leg behind us, strong and straight. If you need a micro bend in your left leg in front, that's totally okay. Where do we place our hands? Right underneath our shoulders. How do we know? When we draw the crown of our head forward and we draw our shoulders back and down, we find our natural position of our shoulders. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, now you can start to fold over. Continue to pull your shoulders onto your back as you move your heart center down, folding over that left leg. The goal here is not to kiss our shin. It is to engage in a safe extension of proper alignment. I'm looking at my left toe, I'm sorry, my left second toe, okay? Continuing to draw my shoulders onto my spine. So notice that my elbows are deeply bent because I'm using my blocks. That's totally okay, it's not cheating. I'm getting in touch with all of my alignment points, setting up my muscle memory for this pose in the future. Inhale. Exhale, drawing the shoulders down your back. One more inhale. And then exhale, straighten out the arms. Find your position for your revolved triangle. I'm placing my left block down, placing my left hand on my hip. And then I'm playing a little bit with where I want to place that right block, okay? And then I'm going to twist to the left, drawing my shoulder back with me as I twist to the left. So this is fine if your revolved triangle means you don't lift up your hand, that's totally okay. Or you can join me and lift it. But remember, we continue to twist by drawing that shoulder down our shoulder blade, or shoulder blade down our back rather, keeping our right hand on the floor and firm, drawing the right hip forward as we draw the left hip back, engaging our core muscles in this twist. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. One more inhale, and then exhale. Bending our left leg, dropping our left hand to the floor. Moving back into plank pose, take an inhale. Exhale, lower chaturanga dandasana. Inhale into upward facing dog. And exhale, back into downward facing dog. This is going to be our last one. So really enjoy it. Push your hips back, draw the shoulders away from the ears. Get full extension. Take a nice inhale. And then exhale. Ha. Inhale. Exhale. Ha. One more inhale. Fully exhale. Ha. Drop your knees. Let's move into child's pose and take a small break before we move into our standing poses. Reach your hands forward, making sure that your buttocks are moving towards your toes, towards your heels. Inhale. Exhale. Fully inhale. Exhale. One more inhale. Exhale. Walk your hands back and find your way standing at the top of your mat. So I'm going to be facing the camera so that you can fully see the front of my body as we go into the next two poses. So for the Warrior 3 pose, I'm going to demonstrate that one from the side, and I'm going to demonstrate triangle from the front. And what I invite you to do is, for the Warrior 3, you can find a wall. You can also do the same thing for triangle. You can find a wall. You can bring over a chair. You can use your blocks. What I want is for you to feel like you've got something to support you as we hold this for a long time, going through the alignment of this. So first, find our Tadasana, right? Stand up nice and tall, draw the shoulders down, turn our hands forward. Feel all those points of alignment in Tadasana. Drawing the belly button in, setting our roots with our feet on the ground. Then I want you to move your weight over to the right side. So you're having your right leg fully support you. But when you do that, don't sink into that hip. Continue to keep that lift as if you have an imaginary air bubble right here above your hip bones that's widening as you lift up. Then bend your left leg and turn your knee to the side. Draw your heel forward and wrap around your ankle with your foot wrapping around your right ankle, okay? So I'm still lifting up. This can be your form of triangle, and that's totally acceptable. Or you can point your toes to the floor, having your heel up above your ankle, still wrapping your foot around the ankle. Or you can take your foot to your shin. Notice how my right hip is still not sinking, still continuing to lift up, drawing my shoulders back and down. Or you can take it all the way to the top of the leg. So when we are in whatever form of triangle, imagine that you are also in Tadasana, lifting up the heart, drawing the shoulders down, engaging your side body, engaging your core muscles, tilting your tailbone ever so slightly. If you want to now, raise your hands up, raising your tree branches. And when your tree branches are lifted, what are your shoulders doing? The shoulders are drawing down. As you lift up and out of your hips, as you grow from the roots of your feet up to the sky, as you align your sky and earth axis. Take a nice inhale, and then exhale, bring your hands down with control to heart center. Again, focus on drawing the shoulders down, engaging your core. Take a nice inhale, and then exhale, lower your left foot, shake out your right hip and leg. They were working hard. Now we're going to do the same thing on the left side. Take your Tadasana. Make sure that your roots are strong. Okay, drawing the belly button in and up underneath the ribs, drawing the shoulders down, turning your hands forward. Bend your right leg and turn your right knee to the right. Bring your heel forward as you bring your foot back to wrap around your left ankle. Watch your left hip and make sure that your left hip isn't sinking out. So continue to lift up. So you can take the variation with your toes on the floor. You can take your toes off the floor. You can wrap your foot around your calf, or you can bring it all the way up to the top of the thigh. Again, whichever pose you choose, you're in Tadasana on one leg, right? So draw the shoulders down, hands pointed forward for now so that you're remembering to wrap your shoulders onto your back, lifting up out of your hips. Then take your hands up, take your branches up, growing your tree out of your roots that you've created with that foot and that leg, joining your sky and earth axis, or aligning it rather. Continue to draw your shoulders back and down as your tree branches are lifted up to the sky. Take a nice inhale, exhale. One more inhale, and then exhale, bring the hands down. Drop your right foot with control, hands of prayer. Shake it all out. So to move into Warrior 3, I'm going to take my blocks and I'm going to move them into position so that you can see Warrior 3 from the side. So you can choose to use your blocks, or you can use a wall, or you can use a chair. So standing in Tadasana again. Okay, now what I want you to do is stand as tall as you can, create all that space that we just talked about, lifting up the heart center, lifting up and out of the hips, hands placed forward. Take your right foot back behind you and still create that lift out of the hip. So the foot that's behind you is really not supporting you. All of your strength, all of your weight is being supported by the strength of your left leg. Take a nice inhale. And then on your exhale, you start to move your heart center out and forward. And as you do so, lift up out of your hip and lift up your right leg. So you can continue to do that till you achieve that wonderful letter T. If you need to place your hands on blocks to help you to do that, feel free. If you need to use the wall, feel free. Continue with the heart lift. Continue with rising your leg by using the strength of your hamstrings in the back. Continue to lift up out of your left hip. And then draw your right hip towards the floor, your right hip bone. Take an inhale, exhale, and then inhale. We're going to lift up. We're going to rise up by lowering the leg and lifting the heart at the same time. And place it back. Shake it all out. I'm going to do the same thing on the left side or the right side. Now, I am not going to use my blocks this next time. You are free to use them. You are free to use a wall. You are free to use a chair. So, finding our Tadasana again, hands forward. Shift our weight so that our right leg is supporting us. But continue to lift up as if you're standing on both legs. Take an inhale. And then on your exhale, move your heart center forward as you lift up your left leg. Continue to lift up out of that right hip as you bring your heart down and your left leg up. Using the strength of the hamstrings on your left thigh. Continue to lift up out of your right hip. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, place your left foot back and shake it all out. That was a lot of work, everybody. A lot of work. So now we're just going to go into some hip openers before we move into our Shavasana. We've already been practicing for about an hour and 10. So when we take time to do these foundational classes, you are establishing your roots and you are establishing your muscle memory that you're going to use as we go through future poses. Those similar poses, when you move through them more quickly, you will now have the foundation to move through them safely. So let's inhale our hands up. Exhale our hands down. Drop our crown, forward fold. Inhale into a flat spine, exhale down. And then let's just crouch down initially. Lift up our heart center, draw our shoulders down. Press our thighs together and lift up and out of the hips a little bit so that the strength of your legs bent and you're up on your toes is holding you in this position. Strengthening your pelvis, strengthening your legs. Take a nice inhale and then exhale, lower down, drop your hands and move back, sitting down. We're gonna do a different way of moving into pigeon because I said we were done with downward facing dog. So we're gonna do it this way. So go ahead, we're gonna move into deer pose essentially. Take your right leg back, take your left leg forward. So right thigh is parallel with the front of the mat, left shin is parallel with the front of the mat. Move your hands forward and then just start to move into your pigeon from there. So just straighten out your leg behind you and draw it into alignment with your hip. Now, what I would like you to do is draw your right hip forward, bring your left hip back, lift up your heart center. Flex your toes so that you're bringing them back towards your left knee. Take an inhale. Exhale, drop the heart center. Inhale. Exhale, drop the heart center. If you want to, you can start to extend that right leg a little bit more behind you to stretch out that right hip. Inhale. And then exhale, lower down over your leg. Take any arm position that works for you. I'm choosing to be on my elbows. I just really prefer that. Don't sink on your left side and your left hip. Continue to draw your hips forward, slightly to the right, honestly, so that you get as much of a stretch on the outside of your left hip as you can, and stretching out your front psoas. As you feel it, you can lower your forehead to the floor. I don't really extend my arms often in front of me, but you can do that. I just find that it doesn't really contribute to my stability in this pose because my shoulders have been injured, but they don't really open the way I want them to in this pose. But my whole torso is laying across my leg and I'm still getting a huge stretch along the outside of my left hip. Just by having my arms out to the side, my forehead is on the floor. So my torso is doing what I want it to do, but I don't extend my arms out much in front. See how my shoulder lifts up when I do that? If your shoulders will open up, great. If they don't worry about it. Just enjoy this pose. I remember doing pigeon when my son was just a few weeks old, taking him with me to yoga class and having him lay and stare at me while Mama was in pigeon. How wonderful to be able to look at the face of your baby while you're in this marvelous pose. Take a nice inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, lift up. Let's move back through that deer pose again. So sitting on your left hip, bring your right knee forward. And then let's just kind of bring our feet to the front and change the direction. So deer pose on the left, right shin parallel to the front of the mat, left thigh parallel to the front of the mat. So this is deer pose. Really a great pose for hip opening. And then we're just gonna lean forward and make our way into pigeon from here. It's really a great way to move through it. It's awesome. Okay, so lifting up in pigeon now. Draw the shoulders down, lift up the heart center. Bring your left hip forward as you bring your right hip back. We aren't sinking onto that right hip. At no point are we gonna sink onto that right hip, okay? So inhale your heart center up again, lifting, and then exhale, start to lay over your right thigh. Initially, you might be higher. Flex your toes and bring your toes back towards your knee to protect your knee. Now, my knee is deeply bent. Some people can really have a nice open where their knee is parallel to the mat. My hips don't allow for that, I guess. And so they never have after all these years. I've been doing yoga about 20 years, still hasn't changed. So we have to confront the reality that everybody has different anatomy. And what's important is that you find your safety within your anatomy. So some things don't ever change. We always want to protect the knee. So that's one way we do that is by not allowing our foot to sickle. So we draw our toes back towards our knee. Another way that we protect the whole hip and everything is we keep the principle of both hip bones going forward. So draw the right hip back as we bring the left hip forward, which stretches out that right hip nicely. And then notice that I haven't quite laid down yet. This allows my back to be nice and straight, allows me not to overextend in my lower back. Then when you feel ready and you feel the extension, you can lay your body further down your torso. If it's available to you to have your hands in front, you can. I don't feel as stable. So I'm just going to bring my elbows out to the side, but my forehead is still on the mat. And then just focus on allowing that right hip to open. There are a lot of ways actually for you to be in pigeon. Stick with me and you'll learn them all over time. But this is such a great pose for back health, for hip health, for releasing tension. We sit a lot, and when we sit so much, it shortens the muscles in the front of the hips. It shortens the muscles in the backs of the hips. It puts too much pressure on the lower back. This is your counter to that. It's amazing. And there are so many different ways that you can enter into pigeon. So it's a pose, I think, for everyone. I make sure it's in every class. Continue to breathe evenly in and out, breathing into any tension you feel in that hip. Take one more inhale. Exhale, let's rise up out of that. Now you can go ahead and sink back on that right hip, moving back through deer. And then let's place our feet in front of us as we move into staff. Sitting up nice and tall in staff, take our hands alongside our hips. All righty. And then let's move into Shavasana. We've been at this for an hour and 20 minutes. It's been a long class today. Move your hips forward just a little bit so you have room on the mat. Feet are on the floor, knees are bent. Draw your shoulders back and down, lift up the crown of your head, and then lower back down, using the strength of your core into Shavasana. And then when you arrive at Shavasana, you have a couple of options. One, roll your shoulders slightly underneath onto your back so you create space for your upper back and your neck. You can keep your legs bent by drawing your feet a little bit closer into the hips. That's one option you have. Another option you have is taking Baddha Konasana, sound angle pose, where your soles of your feet are together and your hips are falling towards the floor. This is a further hip opening pose. You can place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly while you're in this pose to connect with your breath. Your third option is to extend your legs out fully, moving into full Shavasana, in which case I recommend that your palms be facing the ceiling and that you just allow your legs to flop open and you start to allow the earth to fully support all of your body. One way to think of your mat right now is to think of it like the way you feel in a memory foam mattress. I remember when memory foam mattresses came out. The First time I laid on one, I was pregnant with my son, and I was so amazed that I could flop over and lay, and my belly would fully sink into the mattress. And if somebody could just lift my body up and out of that mattress, it would have left my form with that round belly in the middle of my form. So think of it like that. Think of it like you've got this memory foam mattress underneath you, fully supporting all of the points of your body, taking out any tension or any weight. Now start to breathe in and out fully through your nose. And do a scan of your body, telling all of the points of your body to relax. And as you lay here, let's talk about winter. Let's talk about our new year. December 21st is the longest day of the year. The sun sets early and rises late. And from that point forward, every day of the year is slightly longer. The winter solstice reminds us of the preparation we must make as we move forward. The shorter days are an invitation to turn inward, to relax, to connect with quiet activities, to connect with our loved ones, to spend more time, perhaps not as active, looking around at nature. Nature is all moving into a hibernation in preparation for the long winter. And in a way, that's what you do on December 21st, is you rise to the call of that invitation to move into a little bit of a hibernating mode, which is a restful state, which is a restorative place. Taking our time for a slower life before we move into the action that comes with the bloom of spring. Now we are at January 2nd. We are in the midst of winter. At my home, out on the ground, there is snow, there is ice. And there is the quiet that comes with that. Yesterday was very cold and windy, and it was an invitation to stay inside and do indoor activities. Reading, sitting and enjoying one another's company. I cleaned up Christmas. But I sat a lot yesterday. So I invite you to use this time to turn inward, to restore your soul as you move into the remainder of winter. But also, we're in the new year. So it is also an opportunity to turn inward, to reflect, and to establish intentions. So perhaps your intention this week can be to look at what you want from the new year, how you want to show up, how you want to be in it, the things you want to do, what things you want to accomplish, perhaps what things inside of yourself you want to work on. One intention you might establish would be to find stillness every day, purposeful, mindful stillness. We call that meditation. 5 minutes a day, immeasurable benefits. The light in me joins the light in you. The yogi in me honors the yogi in you. I thank you for joining me today at Kathleen Combs Yoga. I invite you to go to my YouTube channel and join it so that you can be notified of new videos. And I invite you to visit my website so that you're up to date on the class schedule and other things like my blog of the week, the pose of the week rather. You can also find me on Instagram. Have a beautiful rest of your Saturday. And hopefully I will see you tomorrow in class at the park in Redlands. Namaste.